If you can make one friend, like just one friend, that is a native Spanish speaker, obviously the more the merrier, but even just one can drastically increase the rate at which you acquire the language because the quality of the input that you're going to get from a friend is way higher. And the reason why I say that is because when they're speaking to you directly, there's going to be more emotion behind what you're listening to because you're speaking to a friend about a certain topic or there's a certain situation. And what it does is it tailors the input specifically to yourself. Now, by the way, if you don't know who I am, my name is Jonathan. I started learning Spanish through immersion and comprehensible input back in 2021 in February. I managed to reach conversational fluency in 8 months. And then since then, I've done some interviews explaining the process. So this is the interview I did with Mike Ben. And this is the interview I did with Pablo from Dreaming Spanish. Big shout out to those guys, by the way. But one of the main things that helped me to learn Spanish at the time, which to be honest, I didn't actually appreciate at the time, is more so something that I came to appreciate after when I'm reflecting on what I've done in comparison to the journeys that some other people have had, is I spent a lot of time investing in making friends, right? Now, the reason why this is so key is because what friends will do is they will connect you, what they will do is they will connect you to Spanish at a level that just watching content won't do. And don't get me wrong, watching content is great. Watching YouTube, watching Netflix, watching series, listening to podcasts is all great stuff. But there's a difference between listening to content and somebody speaking directly to you that will force your level of comprehension to increase faster. Because what happens is when someone's speaking directly to you, it will really test your level of comprehension. And obviously you want to have friends that understand that, look, I'm learning Spanish, or maybe they'll repeat some things here and there. They might explain some things here and there. But what it will do is it doesn't give you an escape. And it kind of trains you to really get to the point where you're understanding and you're picking up maybe context, you're picking up other parts of the conversation. It trains you to really understand, okay, this is how Spanish is spoken. This is what it sounds like in its real context. These are the ways that things are pronounced in real life. Let me learn that. Let me acquire that, right? Now, I imagine the concept of making friends that are native Spanish speakers isn't completely new to yourself. Like, I imagine that idea is like, oh, wow, really? I never thought of that. What a lot of people struggle with, though, is, okay, how? Like, practically speaking, how can I go about making new friends? I don't really have time. I'm here in England. I'm here in America. I'm here in whatever country you're in. I work 9 to 5. How am I actually going to do that when I don't really know how possible that is for me? So in this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down 5 different things that I personally did to make friends that were native Spanish speakers. Some of them will apply to you. Some of them might not. Hopefully at least one does. And I would recommend if you can start to implement this alongside the input that you're already getting. And even if you already do have friends, if you can implement this and get more friends, it's definitely going to be beneficial. Now, the first thing that I did, guys, is I actually used these language exchange, interchange, into whatever it is, apps where you can speak to other language learners. And the ones in particular that I use Tandem quite a lot. Haven't used it in a long time, so I'm not sure what the state of the app is. And the other one I kind of dabbled in was HelloTalk. Like, I knew about it, but I never really used it too much. Now, these are good at a baseline because you're going to be speaking to other people that are learning languages as well. They understand the challenges. Hopefully, they will have some sort of level in English or whatever your native language is as well. So if there are moments where you don't really understand, they'll be able to explain to you in English. Or even better, they might be open to doing crosstalk with you, which is what I did with a lot of the people that I spoke to, where they would speak to me in Spanish and I would speak to them in English, especially during that period where I wasn't doing output. I was just receiving input. And that was great. The challenge that you're going to have with these apps, though, is that you will find a lot of unserious candidates, as we say. And so it will take you speaking to a lot of people to find people that are actually good to speak to. And then once you find a group of people that are actually good to speak to, you're going to have to speak to a lot of those to find people that could actually be somewhat friends, right? Or people that you really share similar interests, similar whatever values or whatever it is, to the point where they could become a friend of yours. So you do have to have a decent amount of time. Now, for example, me, as I am right now when I work, even creating content, I wouldn't have the time that I needed to invest to create friends as I had back then now. So this probably wouldn't be my first point of action. Although if you are watching this and you have like, okay, you know what, on the weekends I could just go on these apps and see if I can find someone, see if I can message a few people that have interesting profiles, definitely do so. But bear in mind, you will have to speak to a lot of people. There will be people that on there that aren't serious. There will be people in there that you'll speak to and be like, yeah, do you know, I don't really want to speak to you. But there are some gems on there, by the way. You can find some gems on there if you have the time to talk to a lot of people. Now that's the first thing. And as I said, like it is good to speak to these people because if you can find someone that's happy to do crosstalk with you or find someone that's just happy to have conversations, this will help to boost your acquisition or the speed of your acquisition because it's just way more tailored to you. Like you can speak about things that's actually relevant. You're not at the mercy of whatever the movie or the content that you're watching wants to say. Like you can actually just steer and ask questions or talk about specific topics that you want to speak about. All right. So that is the first thing, which is great. The next thing that I did, and this is where it gets a little bit more interesting, this will require you to have a bit higher of a level in Spanish. But what I did is anytime I went to Spain for like a trip, and this will apply if you have the ability to go to a country that speaks Spanish, whether it's like Spain, Mexico, Colombia, anyway, the closest one near to you. If you're blessed enough to be able to go to these countries, and you're able to do that, what I did personally is, and by the way, there's a version of this that you can do in your own country, but let's start with the real one, is I went to these countries and any time that I was there on a Sunday, what I would do is I would go to church. I would go to church. Now, by the way, church, I would probably say is one of, if not the best places to make new friends that are natives because they are going to be so welcoming. Like I've done this in probably, I think 3 different cities in Spain. Every single time, like what you'll find is that at churches, there's going to be normally at least one person there. If it's like a fairly established church, there's going to be at least one person there, if not a group of people. And literally part of their job every week is just to make sure anyone that comes that's new feels welcome. And so it's going to be very easy to strike conversations. They'll introduce you to someone. Oh, wow, you should speak to this person. And very easily you'll make friends. Now, I know some of you are watching this and you might say, look, I get it. Like for you, maybe you go to church, you're a Christian. I'm not a Christian. I don't know if this applies to me. I get it. You can still go to church though, by the way. Like you can still just go to just for the curiosity and just for the friends, like the side of like, okay, I'm just looking to make native friends. They will be more than welcoming. I vouch for them. And there's a lot of churches, and I can't vouch for all of them practically, but just in generally speaking, if you go to a church, I'm more than likely willing to bet that they will at least be more welcoming to you as someone coming from outside, someone that maybe your Spanish isn't that good, in comparison to, and I'm going to go through the alternatives, like for example, going to a club. So let's say you're in a position whereby you're like, I hear what you're saying, Jonathan, but you know what, the church thing, it's not really for me. I get it. So what you can do is the next best alternative is trying to find interest groups like clubs or anything where natives would gather, right? And this is actually point 3. So this is point 3. So I'll come back to it in a second. But that is an alternative, and I'll go through what I've done as well in that case that might be applying to you. Now, if you can't travel to another country, you can do this in your own country. Like there are churches that, for example, and because Spanish is such a widely spoken language, I'm pretty sure in the country that you're in, there's like church services. Maybe you might need to go to like the closest city, but there will be churches that are Spanish speaking churches fairly close to you if you're watching this. I'm fairly confident. At the same time, I do appreciate there's a wide variety of people on YouTube. So I could be over exaggerating, but usually there will be some sort of like church or gathering of native Spanish speakers near to you. You can do that in your own country. And if you go there, what will happen is you'll definitely make at least one or two friends, or you at least meet people that you'd be willing to have conversations with. And again, this is going to fast track the process, like really fast track the process. And by the way, just to give you a story, like I did this when I went to Madrid for the first time. So I went to Madrid. This was actually on my story, like I documented it. Let me show you guys. So this was like my trip to Madrid. I documented some of it. And let me get to the part where I went to church. So this was when I went to, where is it? I'm going to jump a little bit. Yeah, some good memories, by the way. Cool. So this is, okay, oh, excellent. So this is the day that I went to a church. And these are all people that I did not know at the start of that day. But by the time we finished church, they invited me to come and eat with them. We had a lunch. We're enjoying ourselves. And by the way, this isn't the first time it happened to me. You know, like when I went to, sorry, that was the first time, but it's not the only time. Like I went to Granada in Andalusia, and literally a similar thing happened. Right now, funny enough, when I went to church, like that day in Madrid, when I went to church, I met one guy. They introduced me to one guy who ended up becoming a great friend. He's one of the people that I've met that has the biggest hearts of all the people I know. Big shout out to him. And interestingly, guys, he then invited me to his wedding like a year later. So this was me at the wedding. My guy, Josue. And then this is also me with Adrian at the wedding. But the point is, yeah, you can actually like genuinely make friends. Like if you go to church, genuinely, you'll be able to meet some people that will they'll be kind to you, and you can fit right in. Now, outside of this, one thing you can do if you don't want to do the church aspect and you're not really the club aspect, I'm not too sure. The next thing I've done before, and I haven't done this as much, is you can go to, for example, I went to a barber one time. Like I went to a barber that I knew, and this is again, Spanish is such a beautiful language to learn because if you're in an English speaking country, there's just so many people that speak Spanish that I'm sure somewhere, like someone in your reach, or there will be a certain community in your reach of people that speak Spanish. So I went to a barber one time, and this barber, I can't remember. I think they were, I think they were Dominican, maybe. I can't really remember now. Now by this point, I wasn't really in a position where I was looking to make friends. But I very well easily could have, because I went there, I'll speak to them in Spanish. They're like, oh, okay, like, how did you learn Spanish? I'd explain, okay, yeah, I was learning Spanish for immersion, all that good stuff. And like, it was a good time. And this is like another avenue where if you wanted to, you could do this as well in your own country. But it's just about putting yourself in a position where you're like, no, I'm actually going to find some people. And the reason why I even say all of this, even outside of the idea of, no, I need to make some friends so I can learn faster, even outside of that, you do have to ask yourself, why am I even learning Spanish in the first place? Like, why? And I think when it comes down to it, there is one aspect for me personally, which is more the self-development, trying to grow as a person, expand my capabilities mentally, sharpen my mental state. That's one side. But then outside of that, the whole reason, and one of the main beauties of being able to learn another language is to connect with other people that you wouldn't have connected with otherwise. I watched one video of a guy, and he said that learning a language is a bit like unlocking DLC content in other countries, which, by the way, if you don't know what that is, it's like when you buy a game, like for example, Call of Duty, and then you can like buy or like unlock deeper parts of that game. Like you unlock more parts of the map. It's like when you learn a language, you unlock cultures that you wouldn't have unlocked. Because if you're learning Spanish just to be able to translate things, honestly, the way the world is, the way AI is, it's not really necessary. I'm sure within a few years, you can probably watch a YouTube video and it will just translate it to you. I mean, they've already started doing that. But if you're looking to connect with people, like if you're actually looking to expand your awareness of cultures, fit into more cultures, being able to connect with more people, which is what this is, then that's what learning language is about. And so I definitely recommend it. Even outside the idea of trying to learn quicker, this is like the end goal anyways. So it makes sense to do it in a context that helps you to learn faster. So then it's like a what do they call it? A self propelling loop, or whatever they call it. When you do something, it leads to something, it leads to the first thing, it leads to something. It's just a positive cycle, right? So we have language learning apps, okay? We have going to church. You can do that abroad. You can do that in your own country. We have like interest groups. or clubs, or for example, a barber, which is what I've gone to in my own country. Basically, just anywhere where natives could gather, you can go and infiltrate that. And depending on where you go, if you can speak a bit of Spanish, they'll probably be welcoming to you. For the most part, most of the Hispanic people that I've met, knowing that I'm not a native, but I'm trying to learn Spanish, most of that, I can't actually think of one example where someone hasn't been like nice to me. And knowing that, oh, this guy's actually learning Spanish. Oh, okay, great. Like you'll have a quick conversation. And then if it is a case where someone that potentially could be a friend, they can become a friend. Now, the fourth one is one that is, I'm confident that this will apply to most people. It won't apply to everybody, but for most people watching this, I'm fairly confident that if you look at your current network of all the people that you grew up with, went to school with, maybe went to university with, maybe went to work with, current and in the present, current and in the past, I'm fairly confident there will be at least one person that you already know that speaks Spanish, that is a native. Like when I started learning Spanish, I was like, bro, this is interesting. I know probably like 3 or 4 people that speak Spanish. So best believe all of them got a message from me. All of them. They all received that message in Spanish. And I know I messaged some of them at different parts. So I know the Spanish was really bad at some points, but I was just like, oh, I'm learning Spanish. I was just excited. So I just messaged them. And the reason why I say this is because if you already know them, this is actually someone that you could very, 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 very easily leverage. Because even if they might not be the best person in terms of, okay, I know the person, it's not really a friend, but they might then know someone that could be a friend. So I definitely say, if you're learning Spanish, try and think of if there's anyone that you know, even if you kind of know them through another friend or wherever it is that speaks Spanish, and try and reach out to them. Reach out to them and see where it takes you. It might lead you to something else. They might even be able to recommend, oh, by the way, if you're trying to make friends, like go to this place, or like my family goes to this place. Yeah, you can go there. Like reach out to anybody that you can think of within your current network that speaks Spanish. And as I said, the good thing is there are so many people that speak Spanish that I'm sure if you live in the UK, you live in America, you live in any of these like Ireland, wherever it is, Australia, I'm sure you'll probably know a few people that speak Spanish, or at least you'll know someone in your close circle that will definitely know someone. So this is something I've done as well. And by the way, everything I've mentioned so far are things that I've done. Now, the fifth one is something that I've done as well, but I didn't do that much because I spent more time doing the other 4. And that is using italki, right? Using italki. And by the way, obviously this video isn't sponsored or anything. But if you're not able to do the other 4 and you're like, you know what, I've tried it, but I don't really have the time, or you don't really have the best experience with the other 4 ideas, this is something that you can do. Obviously, you're not really creating this friendship as per se with them because you're paying them for their time. But at the same time, that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't make friends on there. If you have a tutor on there that you particularly get on well with, and you know that, okay, every time that I'm available to speak to this person, I can go on italki, book a session with them and have a chat. Definitely do so. And I guess the good thing about this is that you can cut through the noise. All of the other stuff I mentioned so far is kind of like just based on chance and based on you hoping that you'll meet someone, which will probably happen. But at least this, you know what you're getting. Like you're paying X pounds or X dollars or whatever it is, and you'll get the chat. You'll meet the person, have a conversation. I definitely try and recommend just conversation practice rather than structured lessons, unless that's something you're doing specifically for a given outcome to supplement your normal comprehensible input / immersion sessions. But it is something I've done a few times. Not many. I've probably done, I think, 2 or 3 lessons on italki in total. So it wasn't much at all. But I definitely recommend it if you're in a position whereby, you know, the other options haven't worked for you that well and you still want to be able to have that communication with native, which I definitely would recommend. So those are a few tips. Let me know what your thoughts are. If you have any questions, leave them below. Any topics that you'd like me to do a video on, leave it below and I'll probably make a video about it. And I'll see you in the next video.